Hi and welcome to Lois and Morgana Davidson Art. It's Lois here, and today I'm going to be continuing with my sketching in a different sketchbook. I'm using an Etchr A5 cotton sketchbook. It's got proper watercolour paper, so I'm much more pleased with that, and it's the next size up from the small one I was using for the 7-day challenge, so I'm pleased with that too. Today I'm sketching this little old house surrounded by trees with rain clouds coming over the hill in the background. This is the photograph from Pixabay, link in the description below, that I've used as inspiration, and you can see that I've taken the bare bones of it and turned it into a sketch and tried to put my own sort of atmosphere and ambience into the sketch. Here's the line work, which I sketched out in pencil first and then in waterproof black fine liner. There's a video showing me doing this over on Patreon. I'll leave a link to that below if you're interested. But here I'll just show you the painting process. So what I've done is I have put washi tape around the edge of my page, so I get a nice clean white border. I've clipped the side of my sketchbook so the pages are clipped together, and that will keep the sketchbook sort of slightly stretched so it doesn't warp and buckle too much as I add water. With my size 14 synthetic round brush and an Escoda Perla, I'm painting in that lovely dark grey cloud because I want that to really contrast against the sort of straw yellow summer hillside. So I've mixed up quite a strong sky colour and put it in as a flat wash. The mixture is made up with indigo, with a bit of burnt sienna and a bit of raw sienna, and now some sepia across the top of that ridge, and then back to some burnt sienna just to sweep that lovely straw colour across the whole hillside, leaving a little bit of variation here and there and painting around the house. I shall paint the house later. To start with, all I'm going to do is paint in the background and the trees. I'm going in sort of paler here, darker there, to make sure that as the paint softens and dries, I'll get some variation in tone and hue. I didn't wet my page first today. I've just gone in with wet paint onto the dry page, which makes a change. Bringing that colour across the foreground, and then I can balance out the sepia across the ridge with some of the same brown across the foreground, but over on the opposite side, so that balances the tones quite nicely. I like to use pre-mixed greens when I'm sketching because I don't have to take time to colour mix. I can just grab the colours straight away. For me, sketching like this is a fact-finding mission. I'm not looking for a finished painting. I'm looking to find out something about the scene which I can then take further into a finished painting. So using sap green and perylene green, ready mixed from the tube, really helps me. I can just get that green colour down and make sure it looks okay, because I'm not looking, as I say, for a finished painting here. This is a sketch, a fact-finding mission to sort of discover ways to turn this into a future painting. So I'm just dancing in those greens over and around my fine liner trees. This is some perylene green into the wet sap green, softening, diffusing and sort of colour blending on the page, wet in wet now, and just giving me my dark tones, my shadows in those trees, which is helping to push out the cottage a lot more. In the simplification process, I removed some of the sort of agricultural equipment that was in front of the house, and I've replaced it with some little shrubs and bushes which I'm painting in, and just getting in some of the shadows under the trees. Then using my palette knife, I'm scraping or etching through the wet paint to reveal the white unpainted paper underneath. This gives me highlights. It helps to give me depth to my trees really quickly and just gives me an idea of how they'll look in a larger painting. And I'm happy with that for the first layer. I now need to leave it to dry completely, so I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee. Now here it is, it's dried, it's all lightened back a little bit, but I've still got that lovely leaden grey sky that threatens rain, so I'm really pleased with that. And now to paint the house and to try and make sure that we keep some of that light. I should be trying to look to get most of the house in shadow, but to have a little bit of light on the front-facing wall with part of it in shadow from the veranda roof. So first of all, the roof I'm going to paint in grey. I'm using the same mixture as I used for my sky, and that keeps harmony across the sketch. And that mixture is made from indigo with a dab of burnt sienna and raw sienna in it to give me this lovely neutral grey. I can use a slightly diluted grey from that mix and pull that across the clapboard wall of the house, leaving the windows unpainted, and that just puts that into shadow a little bit more and gets a little bit of tone across there. Just dancing a bit of grey here and there, just building up the scene as I see fit. This is, as I say, just a fact-finding mission. I'm sharing it here with you because I think it's hopefully helpful for you who are learning to sketch to sort of see my process. Not that my process will sort of mean much to you, because you will have your own process and develop your own process as you learn to sketch. But seeing the way that I do it hopefully will help you to realise that sketching is something that's not being done to produce a finished painting, but is done as a sort of to find out whether or not your ideas will work, and that if they don't work, which invariably will happen, I would say that probably 2 or 3 out of every 5 of my paintings or sketches fail, then you can use what has gone wrong, learn from it, take it forward into the next sketch, and probably end up with something that you can then use to base a successful painting on, because you've discovered all the things that could go wrong with it in the sketch, and so you don't waste valuable watercolour paper by sort of trying out ideas on the page there. So this is burnt sienna, and that's for the chimney and little details on the roof and for the window frames. Little touch on the door. And this nice sort of subtle terracotta red is really making the cottage pop. I'm going to mix up a dull red, a deep sort of burgundy red for the door. I was thinking of a brighter colour, but I think it would look out of place. So I'm using cad red and a bit of indigo to mix up a burgundy, and just using that on the door. And then to sort of introduce a few little dots and dashes here and there into the foliage of that same colour, so that I can carry that colour through the sketch, and so that it doesn't stand out too much, because that colour isn't anywhere else in the painting. So I need to sort of introduce a few little spots of it here and there, just for sort of some colour harmony. And now the finishing touch, the shadow on the building. Wait until the building is completely dry, otherwise you'll smudge the paint. But then pull down a little bit of the shadow grey just down across half of the windows, and that will really make the bottom part of the wall pop out as it's sort of the windows are unpainted. And then darken up the roof a little bit more. So now I've got my wall in part shadow and part sunlight, which is what I was looking for, along with that really strong rain cloud on the way. So removing the washi tape now and having a look at the painting just to sort of see how it looks with a clean white border, which allows me to see it with fresh eyes. And I think it looks okay. I found out what I wanted to about how to get that lovely light effect and shadow effect on the wall of the cottage. I've just lost my tree trunks a little bit over here on the left. So I've got a 1.5mm fine liner, a black fine liner pen, and I'm just going to re-establish a few of my darker tree trunks and darker, stronger branches, just linking some of the areas of foliage from my line work and from my paint. I think that just pulls the painting together a little bit more. So now the sketch is finished. Well, I hope you found that helpful, and it'll help you to sort of be able to use sketching as a way to find out something, find out whether it's going to work or not, or to explore an idea to see what effects you need to get without needing to have a finished painting and without worrying if it doesn't go right, because all you need to do is learn from what's happened and then quickly go in and sketch again, putting that new knowledge into practice. So if you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up, and if you didn't, please give us a thumbs down, because all interactions will help us with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much. Thank you so much to everyone that supports us on Patreon, and I'll see you again soon. Take care and happy painting and happy sketching. Bye.